There we go. That's a different way of starting a little early Friday morning session.
Oh, yeah.
How's it, guys? Krista here. Feels like I'm still standing where I was standing last night, which I am. Marlon's over there on the kit. Carlo over there on the bass.
No, I have to introduce him properly.
Oh, sorry, Marlon's going to introduce.
All right.
We have the legend behind the desk. Let's start there, because he's always doing introductions. We got the legend. The reason I call him the legend is he's the legend. He teases me because I'm short, but he's still the legend. Christo. And then on bass today, we've got a precious friend of mine, one of SA's finest bass players. You guys have seen him work with many artists. Carlos, say what's up to the people, please.
What up, fam? Listen, I'm just happy to be here today, man. I'm excited to play music again, number one. Especially with this whole lockdown thing. It's my first time playing in 2 months, man. With the drummer. So I'm excited, man. Welcome, guys.
That's cool. Well, I'm so excited. I'm going to double whatever I'm paying you. what am I paying? I'm not paying. Oh, sorry.
Double that.
The invoice comes later.
Invoice comes later. So, just for the guys from a technical perspective, you'll notice the kit looks a bit different. Still a Pearl kit. Thank you, Uncle Gorksy, for that.
Yeah.
It's a backline.
SA backline.
Even the bass amp, that is a SWR that Carlo's playing on there. There's only 4 microphones on the entire kit. I've got the 2 Neumanns, the 52, and SM81 on the snare. SM81 is pretty much flat, no dynamic at all, just a high-pass filter. The kick, I've gone ahead and started using plugins because everybody's always nagging me for plugins. So I'm running just a standard Avid channel strip on it, which is something you would find in Pro Tools. Then the 2 overheads, I've got a little bit of a high-pass filter, and I've done a bit of an EQ on the high end to make it a little bit more sibilant, and cut out a bit of that harshness in the high mids, just because of the contrast between those 2 microphones are picking up all the toms, all the cymbals. If you heard them playing, there was a nice stereo image going there. This was just a quick decision I made, so it's not 100% perfect, but it's quite a nice feel there for the kit. On bass, we've taken him directly, so at the moment we were listening to his pedal board through a DI. I've also taken the bass direct, which I've run to another channel, which we'll switch over to, which is then my processing, which I would do on a bass. I'm running that through a McDSP SPC404 multiband compressor. And then there's a bass mic, which I haven't put up yet, and obviously the tracks. The tracks, we filtered out all the low-end information because we've got a bass and a drum going here, so we can get the essence of what's in the track. The songs you're hearing, obviously, is by the master over there sitting on the kit.
Oh, yeah.
On the Master Series full drum kit.
Master Series, man.
We're playing some of Marlon's songs. He's been gracious to let us use those.
Most definitely.
So we
family,
don't get
man.
flagged
We family.
on Facebook like we normally do. We challenge it every now and again, and we think
Yeah.
we got away with it, and then it doesn't quite work. So we have to edit those. So just a quick run through what I think I'm going to get the guys to give me a groove. You can play something if you want to play along with it. I'm going to pull the track down on my side.
Same.
And I'm just going to, on the desk, fill between the mics so you guys can hear what's happening. I think you can see overhead here. I've turned the whole layout's on the right-hand side. I've got kick, snare, 2 overheads, bass. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull everything down, including that, get the guys to play and just let you hear the kick drum with the plug-in processing. Johan can actually show you that on a picture-in-picture. The 2 screens are slightly dark every now and again, but it does work. Snare drum, and then just have a listen to the 2 overheads as well. So if you guys can just keep going until I show you
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
stop, and then we'll take it from there. So thank you, guys.
All right. The track you're about to hear is called Shine.
They're not going to hear the track. They're going to hear the drums. The track's only for your entertainment. That's for Carlo.
All right.
That's for Carlo. I'll bring it in. I'll bring it in towards the end.
Sure.
Okay. Well, tell you what. I'll put the track up to start, so people can hear it, and then, or how about this? Let's start it. Let me finish my bit, and then we play it again with the track.
Sure.
I'm easy, man.
Okay.
I'm
Let's
easy.
go. Let's go. Let's go. Yeah, sorry, I was conducting Marlon there because I'm trying to get him to do stuff, and he's just sitting there on the. I don't know if you saw that I counted it in. I was right there though, hey.
I like that one.
I
Conductor.
was like 2, 3, go, and then he did a bit of a tom roll there just with the overheads on. So you had a section there just with kick and snare, and then just the 2 Neumanns, and you could hear the 8-inch tom slightly soft. The hi-hat we probably need a bit of work on. So I could work with these 2 mics and find the ideal position. He's a bit of a low rider when it comes to cymbals, which makes it slightly more difficult to get right angles. What I'd want to do with that front Neumann mic is have it so that I can actually see the center of the snare, but that means I have to come up about another 4 inches, but then I'm too close to the cymbals. And then the one that's behind the floor tom, I get it to, again, look at the snare just across the floor tom. So you don't get reflections off the side of the tom itself. So that one's in a nice position. The other one's a bit of a challenge. And that's the only reason I brought the snare mic in. If I can get both mics to be equidistant and both seeing the snare, the 2 Neumanns, with the distance of the snare, I can actually get a really nice snare sound off the 2 mics. I'm not saying this is this is just me experimenting, you know. But if you have got time to spend with a drummer, with 2 microphones and a couple of mics, you can really get a good sound. Obviously, from a remix perspective, you're mixing it mechanically, then he plays. You guys can hear the kit as well.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't sound much different to you because you're right there.
Yeah.
You?
For sure.
Yeah. And then the bass that I brought in was the clean bass. In other words, the bass straight into a Radial Pro DI coming through my onboard compressor. Can I ask you to play bass? I just want to switch between your processing and my processing quickly. Just give me a groove there. Cool. So if you listen there, the one that was slightly cleaner on the low end was his. I fattened it up a bit on the low end, so a little bit more accentuated low end, but the tonal sound was quite the same. As opposed to the bass drum mic, I've got a mic on the amp as well, so I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to switch between the DI and the mic, just so you guys can hear the difference there quickly.
I can play the groove with him.
Not yet. He's just eager to play. Cool, thanks, Carlo. So you heard the bass amp. Actually, there's a really nice tone coming through there.
Yeah.
Some nice fret noise on the fingers. So I ended up with a combination between those. Bass mics are tricky, like in any situation. On a stage where there's a lot going on, again, it's a source of bleed. You can't really gate it. So you can process a bit. You can use some toys in RX and stuff to try and clean it up. I've been working a lot with the isotope plugins this week, experimenting with them. But they've got some great tools. Obviously those kind of plugins bring in too much latency live. I've got the ML8000 here, which I can use to get rid of some of the kick, but it will influence the tone. So obviously with that microphone as close as possible, with some separation, you can get a nice tone there. So in the song, it makes sense to use both if you want to. But I tend to, if I've got a bass mic on a cab and a live stage, I'll do a low-pass filter to get rid of a lot of the high-end noise. And even a high-pass filter, and rather just focus on that punch that needs to come through. Depends on how you want to use it and what style of music's being played. Now I'm going to bring the kit. I'm going to bring some effects in on the kit. I've got a snare reverb and I've got a kit reverb on the 2 overheads. So if you want to play that, what song do you want to play for us now?
The same one. We'll just groove.
Yeah, just groove. Yeah, it was cool. So I just brought a bit of effects on the overheads there just to give it a bit of space. I did a bit of a EQ on the two overhead mics. I went to about 2K, 2.1K, and I did a bit of a curve down, so you can see that on screen, I think. Just to get rid of that harshness of the cymbals, which actually made the hi-hat pop out a little bit, because I could push the channels up a bit, and the cymbals are not as bright, but the hi-hat was coming through a bit nicer there. So it's just, it comes down to experimenting and listening to what you want. Obviously, at the end of the day, and every time I push these up, I push the four faders up to the same position. I still have no processing other than a high-pass filter on the snare drum. I could, if I wanted to, start gating it and get the perfect snare, but there is no such thing. So in this case, because I don't have a bottom snare, I want the ghost notes, I want a bunch of stuff that he wants to do. So I keep it as true as possible. And that's also one of the reasons I chose the SM81 and not a 57. SM81 condenser microphone can handle the SPL with the pad on it. So I get in a position, it'll pick up the ghost notes nice, a lot of HF coming through. It's a really nice way of getting a full tone on a microphone. I tend to use the 81 when you do recordings as a second mic. I might not always use it on the PA. If I've got a top and a bottom snare, I'll do 57 and a 450 or something on the snare. I'll have the 81 there and I'll record it, which means in studio you can get away with cleaning it up a bit and doing other stuff. And in this case, obviously the hi-hat, that 81, because it's a condenser, is giving me a little bit more hi-hat sound. I'm actually going to move around there and just move that mic to illustrate that point. I've got it set up in a way that where you've got as much cancellation from the hi-hat as possible. But if I did this, I would increase. Sorry, it's going to stand through here. I'm trying to get the microphone so I'm not looking away from the hi-hat and get a bit more hi-hat sound there. So if you play that same groove again, just by mechanically moving that, you'll hear that we've got a lot better hi-hat clarity now. Yeah. Yeah, that really worked well. I mean, I did a little EQ on the on the snare mic as well to emphasize the hi-hat more, but then my snare starts losing a bit of the vibe, so I took it off again. But just at one point I pulled down the overhead, so you heard that the hi-hat is actually now being picked up. The body of it's coming off the SM81, and the little sibilance is coming off the overhead mics. But that was definitely just like an immediate, you know, as if you had a hi-hat mic and you push it up 3 dB, you've got a lot clearer hi-hat. So it just goes to show you, just with trial and error, experiment with stuff, understanding your microphones. We spoke about microphones quite a bit a couple of weeks ago, and it's an ongoing discussion. Understanding your microphones, knowing how they work, knowing how the pickup patterns work, knowing what the SPL and dynamic and frequency characteristics are, you can really work well with placement. So those two Neumanns, for example, I've got them really close to the bodies of the shells, although I don't have reflection. So I can pick up some body of the toms from the proximity effect without actually having to face the toms. And because they're condensers, they get a nice attack sound off the top end. So this was just an experiment. It works. If I had to think about it at all, I would probably move one more mic, which I'm going to do live, seeing that we can. I'm going to move this Neumann mic to a different position. And I might ask Marlon to assist me in this by lifting your right cymbal by maybe 1.5 inches. So I'm coming in here. So I'm moving this Neumann to the side here. I'm still going to have it face the snare. Remember, we want to keep our snare center.
How's that?
That should be fine. We'll have a listen. Let's make sure that I'm not behind the shell too much. Face the snare. I'm a little bit further away from the snare, so I might have. It should be okay. I'm going to just do that there. Let's give him play that same groove and give us a tom roll as well this time. So what we had earlier before I did this move is tom 3, pretty much we had no impact. When you played a roll, you had 2 and you had 4. You didn't have 3. I'm going to pull it down again. All I want you to do is just give me kick snare hats. I actually did that now by pulling out the 81, and we had no difference on the hi-hat with or without the 81 mic. So the angle that I've got on this Neumann here now is more direct on the snare, so I'm getting my snare sound. Pull the effects down a bit. So if I bring the 81 in now, it's really just depending on what song we're playing to get real clout going. Obviously, you've got to think of genre and placement. If you try and do this on a live stage, if it's a jazz gig, definitely, because you get the full dynamic of what the drummer's doing. But on a rock stage or R&B, there's so much other stuff going on, you can't really experiment like this. But yeah, we've got control. The bass amp is on. There's a bit of noise in the room, but no more noise at Marlon. So it works. But it just shows you I moved angle of the one mic, and then I just replaced another mic, and we have a completely different balance on the drums. Just hit me tom 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, so you can hear that the 8-inch is a little bit soft, so if I move that microphone slightly across, but then I might influence, so then I might ask him to lift that one cymbal just a little bit, but I don't have a problem with that. If I bring in the 81 and you do the same thing, so obviously the two Neumanns are panned hard left and right, and by bringing in the 81 that I've got on the snare, tom 1 is actually being picked up because I've pulled it off and it's between the two mics there. So we get a really nice balance. So emphasis there, and the point I'm making is use what you've got, place it, understand how you use it, pay attention to the drummer himself, communicate, listen, and figure out what you want to do. Some of this stuff that I'm doing now, because I've got less microphones, can't do much other than just chop it up completely in post. But if I had an hour with him just playing the song that he's going to play, move the mics around, get into a position where it really works. And I've got a nice image going as well. You can hear the nice tom pan. Any comments from your side, Marlon?
Yeah, I've played on, and I mean, Carlo might agree with me on this. If you do like a festival, a music festival,
Okay,
and there's like 10, 15 bands playing,
for sure.
you don't have the luxury of a proper sound check.
Sure.
90% of the time,
sure.
it's literally you run on stage, you got 15 minutes.
10 minutes, yeah. Change over basically, yeah.
And 9 of those minutes is you changing cymbals.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what happens is the drum is the one that suffers because these guys are just plugged and then they ready to go.
Yeah. Basses are the funniest because if they look at the amp, they don't care if anybody else can hear them. They plug in the amp, it's there, I'm happy. Where's the coffee?
So in a case like that,
True.
if I can ask, how does that work? I mean, obviously you.
So what happens at a festival is you'll normally have the production company that supplies, and they'll have a front of house engineer, monitor engineer, and you set up. Look, the planning around riders and for festivals, you would get 25 riders because over the next 3 days is that many band. You take all of those, you take the most complicated one, you make that, there's your channel list, and then you fit all the other bands in within that, so you make sure you cover everybody. You look at the specs and the requirements. At festivals, obviously, because of the time element, we can't, you know, big international festivals where there's half an hour of DJ and all that, or 2 stages, you can swap kits, you can do go boss, you know, and then you get proper sound checks. But on your typical festival, you'll work backwards from the biggest. So say you've got Mango Groove on the rider, you know, because of the channel count, you know, with tracks and brass and all that, they're quite a long channel list.
Right.
And you'll find that all other bands fit within that. When I say fit within that, means they've also
Smaller
got drums,
bands.
they've also got things, so there'll be some spare channels in between.
Facts.
And they might have, but Mango doesn't have a DJ, for example. They've got tracks. But now you can say, okay, the first 2 track lines are music tracks, so let's make those the DJ lines for the rest. So you try and build something that will make sense going forward, so you can work your basic setup. You'll do a basic drum check, get all that going. If you got fortunate enough to get a drum tech that can play, you get a basic sound going, you build a template. You don't go too boss on the desk either. You make sure everything's there, everything works. Because not all the bands bring engineers. So on the bands that don't bring engineers, that guy will work on that template, get it going, save it, and then the next band comes in and they've got someone. If I'm that guy, I'll walk up, I look at what he's got. Same as you walk onto stage and look at that. I look at what's here, what's the layout. If it makes sense, I'm going to use it as is. If there's been a drummer on that kit for the whole day, obviously those lines work. I'll walk up, I'll look at it. I must be honest, if I generally start on the stage, have a listen, look at what they've got done there, come out front, listen to what they do. A lot of guys just turn too many knobs sometimes. I tend to, if it's a digital console I can change, I'll go to the drum kit, select all EQs off. Gain structure, and I can do that while we play. If we're at front of house and you're doing monitors from that side, in my first song, I can completely redo the kit. I start with fader balance, gain structure, and then I'll just bring in a couple of things, and I'll end up with no EQs, like you saw the other day.
It's flat.
It's flat. It's based on what the drummer is doing. It's a whole big instrument. I'm not saying it's perfect, and if it's an hour set, by the end of it, the kit's sounding killer, you know, because I've got time to fill on. But the audience is appreciating what's happening from the start, you know.
For sure.
Because, you know, if it's Lyra or whoever coming on stage, the audience is there.
That is a big part of
They're
the show,
not on the drum kit. You know, you might have 1 or 2 drummers that go, oh, that snare's horrible. You know, that's his problem, you know.
Yeah.
But the people go to what they focus on. So as an engineer, if I'm traveling with Tiens and stuff with a band, when he walks up, I make sure his acoustics on, his vocals on. And that's it. That's my main focus. And I know what the first song is. I make sure I know what the first song is because I know
what's up.
where that starts. If it's something like with Tiens, if it's Hannah, I know that Bruce is going to be on the floor tom quickly. So I've got to be ready with the floor tom and a couple of other stuff. And then, you know, because I also don't have time for a full sound check.
Yeah.
So you approach it from that perspective, but you stay in the context of what's happening there. You know, especially if a band's using tracks these days, you'd be surprised how full those tracks are, where if I've got the vocals and tracks going and I start having elements of the band, it already sounds full, you know. So obviously the ideal thing is, you know, you have a half an hour sound check where everybody's in position, you can do your stuff, but that's not the case. And I've been in so many situations where they give you a half an hour, but the DJ is playing on the PA.
Exactly.
So I've got 2 little speakers here. I've only got to do a sound check.
You've been in a similar situation?
For sure.
Carlo?
And I can't do anything. So I do exactly the same as if I didn't have a sound check.
For sure.
Because until I push the PA up, that's when the truth is revealed. So I spend that time that I now got extra, making sure I can find stuff, change my layouts, get familiar with what's there, look at some stuff. I'll get my gain structures done, because I can look at that, get gain structures done, all that, but then wait for the PA.
For sure. I do have a question, and I'm not sure if this is about drums only. My question is.
We've got musicians involved as well, not just drummers.
Listen, so from a live drum perspective, say, for instance, there's a band playing with a live drummer. Next up is Mikasa. And we do DJ. Your approach when it comes to bass, how do you mix? How do you go about the mix?
So here's the
Especially
thing.
from a bass
If it's the-
perspective.
if it's the other way around, if it's Mikasa on stage and then an acoustic band, it can easily go flat.
I get you.
So then it's even more important to make sure that you know what you're doing. Get involved with the kit, make sure that the stuff's there. The bass itself, you can't, it's very difficult to compete with synthetic bass in a live environment, especially sampled kicks and sampled
sure.
stuff. That kick drum will never sound like that. No matter what, I can EQ and I can boost 50 hertz as much as I can. I'm distorting, I'm clipping. It's never going to be
For
that.
sure, for sure.
So what I then do is, depending on who the band is, I go for effect. I can get a drum kit in your face without having sampled bass. So if it is toms, double busted toms, do this, do some dynamics, and that's, there are some strategies around it. I mean, like when we do a Blue Bamboo, we often follow DJs. You know, we'll
For
do
sure.
corporates and stuff, and then we go into a party set. Now, the DJ's been pumping for the last half an hour, and it's got, you know, your pants is swaying.
I get you. I get you.
But then I've managed it where we go from that, and I know what the first song is, and Brendan's clever. He picks the first song well. I come in, we hit that song, we go, and then when the band's done, people go, oh, we don't want the DJ. You know, you swing it the other way around. You know, because you leave them there,
At a high.
but it's about the quality.
Right.
So, the thing is, you can, if you come there trying to think, I need to match this to that, you've lost the game.
For sure.
An acoustic band is an acoustic band. So do what they've done or do what they present to you well. So you can have I mean, if you go back to the 80s, 90s, you know, that kick drum that just hits you in the pit of your stomach and all that, that's not 50, 60 hertz. That's like 100 hertz, just thud.
For sure.
You know, but that's just about getting volume. But now your
sure.
PA's got to be able to handle that. So, and it's not about just pushing up volume. A lot of guys I've seen youngsters and guys, you know, that haven't done it enough, that grow with bands and they do sound checks and they soft, and it's comfortable. Then the show starts and the people scream and they go, oops, and they push volume. And then everything falls apart.
Yeah.
Feedback,
Wow.
bass distorts, You've got to be in context. You've got to, and I'll rather, when I start my sound check, go to what would be performance level, and people are like, it's too loud. But I mean, in the show, that's still not loud enough because you add all that other stuff. So you've got to get the context right. I don't stay there because I don't want to kill myself.
I get
But
you.
it's about applying, you know, festival guys also think about it. They try and create an atmosphere in how they put the bands up. You know, they
For
don't, some artists don't want to play after another artist of a certain genre.
I've seen
Yeah.
it, yeah.
You know, so they
Yeah.
no, I don't want to be after him. It's not about jealousy or anything like that. It's just that style. You know, people are like half falling asleep. Now I've got to come in and try and pick them up.
For sure.
As well as, you know, you don't put a Mikasa on and then go to a folk jazz. You know,
Exactly.
it's just, you know, it's
And it happened, huh?
no, it's happened, mate. We've done, yeah. I've been at festivals, Afrikaans and English, wherever, where they get it wrong, and then they lose audiences because people, and then so. But technically, it's about prepared. I mean, as much as you guys need to be prepared when you get to festivals. I tend to, if I can drive myself, I'm always there early. Before the band gets there, I spec out the place, check out what's on stage, walk to front of house, meet the guys, go away, you know, leave my bag there, check out everything, and see what the guys are doing and start preparing what I'm going to do. If it's a console I don't know, I default to make sure the guy's there when I'm done. I tell him I want this, watch him set it up because he's quicker on the console, and then fill in from there. If it's a console I know already backwards, I'm much more comfortable just to kill everything and start from scratch because I know the console quick enough.
I feel you.
You can't really travel with show files unless the production company is ready for you. If there's only one desk at front of house, if it's a Yamaha, for example, or something, you know, you can't just stick in show files and load it because then you mess up everything else and then matrix routing and all that kind of stuff. You need to manage that process with computers and things. When I never travel with a show file because the thing is, my show file might be a perfect mix, but you guys just walked onto stage. It's not the kit that you want. It's not the mics I used when I made the show file. It's not the same bass amp. It's a different DI. stage is squashed. It's a different vocal mic.
Got you.
So other than structure, what is that show file giving me?
Sure.
You know, so I'd rather forego that and work with what I've got here and spend that 5 minutes not building a mix, building a structure so that I can respond into the mix. So
Sure.
it's a different mindset as well.
There's a lot going on, huh?
There's a lot going on. But you know what? I've done it successfully. I've done it unsuccessfully. You know, it depends on where you're at. Sometimes, I mean, I told the story the other day. I went with Jadine and the guys, with Cabello, to Botswana for a New Year's Eve. We got up there, old analog desk, no outboard gear. On stage, Jadine had a little setup there with ears for everybody on stage. So we didn't need monitoring, except for Cabello's
For sure.
wedge. First song, the entire PA folds, except for one speaker on the left.
Sure.
So I just like killed everything, put his voice through that one speaker loud,
Wow.
because it's New Year's Eve. We went on at midnight. So it's like, and there's no PA. So it's like, okay. JD and they're going. Liga and the guys, they're happy because
For sure.
And your audience?
They're on ears.
the audience is drunk, fortunately, and they can hear Cabello and they can hear the acoustic kit.
And that's it.
And they went, and by the third song, I heard some other stuff start coming on. They were fixing the problem, and then I started bringing in the band, and then, you know, and then afterwards went to the guys and they go, oh, they had a ball. I said, yeah, no, from the third song, me too.
Listen, a quick one, man. What is the worst thing that can ever happen to you as a sound engineer? Say from a band perspective. When I say that in terms of maybe a band getting on and playing loud, what is the worst thing? What makes your job difficult from a band perspective?
Sure, that's a deep question. So from a band perspective, the worst thing you can give a sound guy is inconsistency. Because if you're going to be loud and obnoxious, stay loud and obnoxious. But if you do this, and drummers who don't know songs show you that. If they're comfortable, you get it. The next song, like, where's my kick on? Where's my snare? Because he's thinking about the song now. He's reading a chart, and his whole demeanor drops down. Adrenaline drops down. Same thing, and that goes for even vocalists, even BVs. Some songs, they like nail it. The next song, they're singing the right notes, but they're thinking, they're reading, you know, that kind of stuff. So inconsistency is a killer. And then the next thing is, just from a music perspective, if these two people don't gel, you can.
Right.
It's like panel beating, but you're hitting it this way, then you're getting that way, and then you go this way, and then it's there, and then it's gone, and then it's there, because by accident your groove does this.
Sure.
And what happens there is there's no relationship. Because if there's a relationship, even if you've never played together, you'll watch each other, and one of you will adapt.
For sure.
Generally, the one guy that if you're with a band all the time, you know the song, you'll look at him and he'll follow your lead.
For sure.
Or vice versa.
For sure.
I've seen a drummer come and dip, and he doesn't know the band well, and he just locks his eyes onto the bassist and follow his body and get
that
into
body
the groove.
language.
That body language, you get in there. When that groove hits, I mean, everything on my side becomes easier to get that groove section going. Where if I'm trying to get, sometimes you're like, this band sounds amazing, it's killer. I've got a coffee on the side, everything, and then the next song, and I'm thinking, what happened? Everything just falls apart because either they don't know the song that well, it's the first time, or vice versa. There's the cohesivity on the stage translates. Garbage in, garbage out. Perfection in, perfection out.
Sure.
If a band is, that's why, if you've got a dodgy band on stage, which means is they musically not there. So you can have four friends who know each other very well, but they're not necessarily the best players. You can still get a decent sound because there's a vibe that comes off there. Or you have the other way around where you've got a couple of musicians that can't play. I mean, and the thing is, I've seen sound guys try and mix that, and you can't because there's just everything you're doing is being counteracted, and you feel like pulling your hair out. It's like nothing I'm doing. I'm like, what am I doing? You're like, I've walked away from sessions and I'm like, oh, what was that? And other sessions I'm standing there, I'm thinking, I'm not touching this. It's perfect because the band is just amazing.
For sure.
So
For sure.
I think so. In a nutshell, but that consistency comes from the relationship, the language, the cohesiveness, the comfort. What do you want to point there? Want to
You
play
know
us?
us, we just want to play.
You want to
man.
play? Okay, so what's it? I don't even know what the time is. We've been going for 40 minutes. People are getting bored. Let's play some music.
Yeah.
You guys want to say goodbye before we do that? We're going to go off air.
Well, goodbye. Listen, it was so cool, man.
Happy
Well,
birthday to Eddie.
Oh yeah,
Eddie,
man.
happy
Happy birthday,
birthday.
Eddie. Yeah, this is the first
Eddie,
for
come
me,
here.
so I'm excited.
Eddie, come here. Eddie, come here.
Yes, we have to show people.
We have to show Eddie.
Yeah.
And Johan must come here. Johan's always behind the scenes. So they had consecutive birthdays, and last week was Marlon's birthday. So I don't know
Yeah.
what camera's going on now. So just this camera. So this is Eddie. He's having a listen. This is Johan. Everybody that's been watching the episodes, it's always him answering and doing the questions and doing the Q&A and all that kind of stuff. So you can see them. So it was, happy birthday. Can you play
Birthday,
happy
man.
Birthday, man.
Okay, let's play him out with a song. I'm going to say thank you from my side. We've had a request for a full band. So what are we doing next week?
It's going to be a surprise, but there'll be more musicians. That was a classic answer. You wasn't ready for that.
No.
But we're going to have some more musicians featuring, so yeah.
Yeah.
I'll be in touch, and we're going to make it happen. We're going to make it happen.
Awesome. Cool, man.
Yeah. I must just say this, Christo, again, thanks for allowing us to be here. We appreciate it. To you guys that are online watching, keep at it. Keep at it consistently. That's how you learn. And then
I don't know if there was any questions. I'll check out the chat afterwards.
right.
Oh yeah.
I'm not monitoring it now, obviously.
And then to my dear friend Carlo, when I called him up, man, I was still trying to explain the setup. He was like, Marl, if you're there, I'm there.
For sure, man.
So it's an honor to have you,
For
man.
sure, man.
And
That's a
you're gonna see a
pleasure.
lot more of him. How do people get in touch with you, man?
Instagram, Carlo_Uster. That's basically Facebook the same, but Carlo with the W. CARLOW.
Low as in
Underscore,
bass
low,
low.
yeah.
Right.
Carlo Uster, yeah.
Okay, and you guys know Sound GP on Facebook. You got to check it out.
YouTube.
YouTube as well.
Oh yeah.
I play pearl drums. The reason we do this is just to give shout out to people that help us do what we do. Tradelius Music and Mr. Green. I'm out.
Cool.
Sure.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.